Here we go. Woot!
Awesome guest.
All right. So our guest today is I am Adiva 360. Our guest today is SheSnaps. She also has Mind of Snaps or just goes by Snaps. She is a gamer on Twitch, and she's more recently been focused on more of a just chatting, self improvement kind of stream. But she could probably give you better details of what all that involves. So go ahead.
Only in theory.
I'm all about theories.
I appreciate you giving me as many names as possible so that people knew what was up. You forgot General Hefaps, obviously. Wait, can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, I'll edit it out of the
Are we talking like am I PG-13 snaps? Like I can have one F-bomb throughout the entire course of this?
Or
feel like that's safe.
like YouTube, it'll be unfiltered.
Sweet.
Whew. 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 That was scary, man. You know how much work it is? Okay, I'll limit F-bombs just to limit your editing work. What part are we on? I'm telling you guys about me?
Yeah, a little
That's
about
what
you.
my life is. Okay, I'm a online broadcaster. I stream on Twitch. I'm a podcaster. I write blogs. I'm working on a YouTube series. Everything is all focused about mental health, mindfulness, and general. I almost dropped my first F-bomb there. I'm like, wait, is this the time I want to use it? Do I want to start off? General shenanigans, we'll say.
Yeah.
Shenaniganery.
Insert other word here, guys.
General duckery.
Yes. It's quite the duckery.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. We just like to talk about life, and one of the biggest aspects of that being mindfulness and mental health, because it helps me to enjoy my life a lot.
Sweet. So if you guys are wondering if this is is this the podcast that I should be tuning into? The answer is yes. Because this is a lot of stuff that if you haven't been following Snaps, I know Adema and I have been following Snaps for a while over on Twitch, and if you haven't been aware of Snaps' mental health streams and the focus on mental health and positivity, there is always some little kernel or nugget of helpful information that this can have for you, not just for existing on the internet. Like, this is good for you, just for your soul too. So you're in the right place right now. So thank you, Snaps, for wanting to come and talk about this stuff with us.
I am happy to drop nuggets all over.
See, I'm probably going to set you up for all those kind of lines tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
I certainly hope so. I signed up for this for partially for that reason, obviously.
Sweet. So for I know we kind of got that little bit of the intro from you now, but if you were to give a quick elevator pitch for yourself, what do you think that would sound like?
I just want to help. To put it kind of plainly, I just really want to help. It sucked feeling bad the majority of my life. It feels good to feel good now. I like talking to people. I'm curious, and I want to share that curiosity with people, share what I learn with them, and hopefully get them to be a little more curious and excitable as well, because it feels good.
See, I like that. That's solid.
Yeah.
I kind of identify that with that one too. Just I want to help. It's I just had that recently with my boss. Who's just hey, what do you see yourself doing? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't think there's like a whole career move for just I want to help people, is there? Like, like, it's like that's a
It's a
nice state of
focus.
being to be in, though.
Yeah, and that's like that you guys know, or at least I know Dorseus does because he was involved in the book thing too. Yeah, you guys should probably know the whole like life purpose thing.
Right.
I'm a big believer in figuring it out in a general sense because then you see lots of opportunities to live up to that. It's not just career wise, it's everything. So me just wanting to help, like it's everything I do and my job and everything after that, you know?
Right. So I just like I had it again. Like we just had this happen before we started. When we were talking. Like I had that brain function where it's just like I had it and then it's gone again. All right, that's fine.
Look around the room and count all the blue things.
Oh crap! All the blue things.
Okay, just count 5.
Okay. Okay. There's that thing up there. It's like a
What's
Nerf
that?
gun. It's a Nerf gun.
Okay, got it.
That was a gift. It's Captain America.
Okay.
The blue stripes on the chair.
Okay, we got 3.
I think that's a box or a book, right there.
Okay, I see it. I see it.
Oh, the little blue orb on my bracelet.
5. Amazing. Okay, now what did you want to ask me?
That was supposed to recenter me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes it helps. That's all it takes for me.
No,
sometimes
I like
I just
that.
like
No, I like
deliberately focus my brain on anything else.
No, I like that.
We were talking about helping.
Yes, about helping, and I feel like I don't know. I just like this idea of doing this and having you guests today, and like, is the idea of being like, hey, yeah, Adima and I love Anthem. We love being Fort Tarsis Radio, but we also, I think, enjoy what you've done with your community and how you focus on other things beyond just gaming. And like, this is like one of our chances to be like, hey guys, let's kind of maybe center ourselves and focus on being positive and being a better you.
I like it. I like that you guys brought me in so early in your podcasting foray with as far as like this new project betwixt the two of you.
Yeah.
It's I obviously consider it to be pretty important or I wouldn't talk about it every damn day.
Right.
But it's cool when you see it get brought in at the forefront of somebody else's I don't want to say career, but this is a different little path.
Yeah,
and like I've taken inspiration from you and some of the others from the Destiny community, like originally as the inspiration behind this whole project. Like, so I guess a question for you is, what originally gave you the inspiration and drive to actually switch from just traditional gaming to what you're doing now in terms of, in essence, like having a conversation with your community and like getting to know them on a personal level and all these, like, actually, I know this sounds corny, but actually caring about people.
Well, it's funny because that's one of the things I'm trying to get us to stop saying before we say anything that we feel is meaningful or sensitive or whatever, to say like this may sound corny. I want to drop that because why do so many things that involve personal connection with other people get chalked up as like corny behavior? Like, that's the good shit. That's the stuff you want. It's not the corny stuff. The corny stuff, like the cheesy stuff, is trying to pretend you're someone other than a person who cares about people, We all care in varying degrees for sure, but we all care ultimately.
Right.
When it comes to the change of my stream and everything, I didn't really mean to change it. It wasn't really deliberate. Like, I've always tried to get to know everyone on an individual basis because that's been one of my favorite parts about it. So on the days when I was doing more competitive stuff and I would be like, okay, I got to close chat for a while and just focus on gaming, I kind of like missed it after stream. Like, I still had a blast, but then I would go back a lot of times and chat or like scroll back through the feed and see what chat said while I was gaming. It's like it's a privilege, man, to be able to talk to so many different people every day. So like the real change just came when I changed. I stopped wanting to be so toxic. Some of the games weren't as fun as they once were for me, so it just didn't really grab me. But I just wanted to talk to people, man. I don't want people to feel like shit. And I had to do that for far too long. And I want to try and help other people to not feel that way. But I am excited to game again as soon as my PC gets back.
Right. Yeah. There's always that need to game a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that idea too. And like in my own path for streaming and whatnot, and like realized, yeah, I enjoy, like, even if it's like a half an hour just to sit and talk with somebody, it's great. It is great. Just like let every like idea or whatever just fly and just like go with it, you know. And like people, if you let them, have a lot to say, you know. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn.
And see,
that's the fucking truth.
See, on my end, I almost don't like streaming as much because I'm in there talking with my friends in various chats. I already have these relationships with people. I'm not going to try and just say, hey, come to my stream.
Right.
That's fair. And, you know, honestly, I like to practice gratitude as often as possible. And you just gave me another thing that I can kind of look at a little differently, like how lucky it is, or how lucky I am to be able to be the source for so many discussions, or like have my community as that place for it. Because there was definitely a time where I would have thought the same thing. Like, if I want to talk to everyone, I'm going to have to be in all these different places right now. And it's pretty awesome to be able to go sit in my living room and have some of my favorite people come and say what's up.
Right. Like that. That's fantastic. And like, if any of you are in chat right now, I am seeing some familiar names in the chat. Feel free to like do what you always do. I know, because I mod sword some of you. Sometimes kindly, sometimes because I just like a joke, but I apologize for that. But keep those questions coming, because like we want to feel that kind of conversation here too. So you know, celebrate your general avocado. Okay. So
I'm sad I didn't get to eat an avocado tonight, but it wasn't ripe enough.
So you gotta watch it. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's why I can't trust avocado. Like, I look away for like that extra half a second and it's gone.
Yep.
It's like, it's just never works out for me.
It's a quick process.
So in what I'm going to call a perfect storm of positivity, yoga, blunts, games, dabs, gongs, coming together at this like moment, when did you feel like you wanted to share all these experiences, or I guess kind of like the formation that you had for Mind of Snaps?
I would say that started pretty early on last year. Like, as soon as I started feeling a tiny bit better, I was like, oh, holy shit, you guys can actually feel better. Like, you might not be cured or anything, like you might still battle some stuff, but did you know that you could feel better? Did you know this? And then I just like kind of shared everything from that point on, because I just kept learning more and more things that helped me to feel good and feel strong and capable. And I just, like, it's awesome to be able to do that and go to work every day and tell everyone what I've learned, and sometimes learn with them, like when we were watching TED Talks together.
Awesome. So you guys, like, so if you've ever been in that moment, and I know I've personally have been in that headspace too, where just like, nah, I can't get better. I'm here to tell you, just officially, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It can. We have somebody here who would like to tell you it can.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's cool. Like, I'm really happy for you for that, because, like, I don't want to say like I found it kind of privileged to be in that position of like just watching long enough to see how you were before all of this, but like it makes me happy that you're happy. Like that, and that's such a good feeling. like to see that you're in that space where you're like, yeah, look, like you can also be happy, and like that's an awesome thing to see. So for any of you out there, like you being happy probably makes other people happy too. So
Yeah.
like if you focus on maybe trying to, like, I don't want to say just trying to be happy, because that, I don't want to like simplify it down to that, but because it is slightly more complicated than that sometimes. But if you look at your experiences and want to, I guess, restructure how you feel to be happy, there are a lot of people who want to celebrate that with you.
Yeah. For real, man.
Yeah, and to give Dorseus credit, like his whole smile squad, as well as like just going into his stream and like do exclamation mark smile and say, give one reason why, like what made you smile today, like
Yep.
it's those little things that, like, on those days that you're having down days, like just a little thing like that, even if it's seeing why your friends are happy today, or like, yeah, that is a good thing, or even expressing your own reasons why you're happy is just adding to like your own well-being, I guess you could say.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And Dorseus definitely is running the game when it comes to smiles. We know that.
I'm trying to like hide it behind the microphone here, just like no, it's good. Like I'm just smiling. Trust it. I am smiling.
My favorite thing is honestly just like yelling that in my chat, Dorseus, smile. Because I know that even if you're like at work, I know you cannot help it. Like it is you. You are, who was it that said that? Riley? Someone said you were a walking smile personified. Like that is you.
That sounds like Riley.
I'm like, yes, that is. It's the truth. You are the smile. Everyone else, when they're smiling, they're being more Dorseus like.
Sweet. Just don't drop any cookies, guys. Just keep smiling, okay?
Yeah. And if you do, don't tell anyone. Just put them back on the plate. Busted.
So, it looks like Alpha actually have one or two questions I kind of wanted to field your way, Snaps. And I think we can probably go round robin on any of the ones that like they're open that aren't specifically directed. But this first one, how does she find the balance between helping and not letting the weight of everyone's issues weigh her down?
That is a delightful question, Alpha, if I may call you that. Honestly, this works both for me and for other people's stuff. I can recognize that I am separate from it. My own feelings, thoughts, emotions, all these things, the majority of them kind of come and go on their own. So if I observe them instead of letting them take me over, then I can see the things that are trying to make me sad or the things that I'm feeling sad about. I can see the things that are frustrating me or trying to make me angry without being angry, without becoming my anger or my sadness or whatever. I can just see it and kind of experience it a little differently. And if it starts to weigh me down too much, then I go and I meditate or I do something that reminds me of who I am based on like who I'm actively creating every day. So the same thing goes for dealing with other people's stuff. It's definitely a weight. Like there is no denying that hearing some of these stories I've heard and some of the things that people share with me is heavy stuff. But I can see it as something that is separate from me and not let it affect me too much. I can see it and I can feel grief and sadness for the people that are hurting without it being who I am that day, without me having to be sad, upset, grieving, whatever. And if I start to feel everything kind of creeping in a little too much, if it starts to get too hard for me to separate myself, then I will physically, like separate myself. I will do whatever it takes to put my mind on something else and then go back and evaluate it when I'm in a more peaceful state of mind.
Ooh, I like that. and it kind of reminded me of a tweet I saw, and I can't remember who tweeted. I'll have to look that up for you guys later. But I remember maybe it was more of like one of those things of also kind of a self-care. Sometimes you have to ask yourself honestly if you're ready to be in that position to help that other person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make sure you're in that right space for yourself to even begin to do that. You know, if you need to you know, if you need to meditate, which you should, it's actually really nice to meditate. You know, if you're in that state to take that on, that's also something you should be looking at too. And it's usually not, you know, you don't ever want to be the person who's like, no, I don't want to help you. Of course we want to help, but you know, if you're not able to put yourself in a position to help yourself first, you might have to take a step away before you can, you know, be that person for somebody else.
Yeah, if you're having a hard time managing your own emotions and all the stuff you're dealing with in your life, sometimes it can be a little too much to try and be an ear for, especially like that many people, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I think actually helps some people is setting goals for yourself, no matter how big or small they may be, and then just work towards achieving that. And you can even do it like on a daily basis, saying like, I did this and this and this today, or I wasn't able to do this today, but like, what can I do to actually make it possible for me to do that tomorrow? Kind of
right
system.
Right, like having the like. I think it was it a Navy admiral that kind of did something similar for one of the speeches he gave, where it's just like, if you start every day by making your bed, that is like your first step to achieving good things or bigger things, because you accomplish something small. And then at least if you didn't achieve everything you wanted to, well, you have a made bed to get into. You know,
that's
it's
true.
like,
And
you know,
it does feel nice.
one step at a time. Oh yeah, made bed over unmade bed. But being real, I like totally ran out of the house today, so I don't have a made bed. So
what a monster!
My bad. Yeah.
How do I end this call?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry guys. Sorry about this really shortened version of this podcast today.
No, it's like the idea that people who floss tend to live longer. It's not just because they floss and now their gum health is, you know, divine. It's just they are doing the little things, and the little things matter. Your routine is your life, man. If you have a routine that allows you to practice certain skills, you're going to improve them. If you have a routine that has you doing little things every day, you're going to do probably lots of them.
Oh yeah. It's just like, they will always matter. Like you started doing those little things for a reason. I think we have another one from Nick Chase. Oh, did it sound like you had something there?
Yeah, I was just gonna read the next question from chat.
Oh, go for it. Go for it, man.
So, what has changed in you from the people that you have influenced? So, like, I'm guessing the interpretation of this question is, what has changed for you personally based off of the people that you influenced? How, like, in turn, how did they change you?
Well, they were the reason for they were really the catalyst for me to change in the first place. Because the first of the changes started early on in my streaming career, when people who I barely knew started noticing when I was having a hard day, started noticing that I lacked confidence and self-love, and started peppering it in a little bit when they visited me, when they would say hi. They would reach out privately and say, you seem a little off today, are you okay? They would send little messages of encouragement when they saw I was hurting. And it made me realize the type of relationship that I wanted from any type of relationship that I'm in. And it made me finally start to kind of value myself a little bit more and differently. So I left a bad relationship and I started focusing on myself, like actually being myself and figuring out who that was. And things just got exponentially better since then, especially once I stopped making it just a kind of a general once in a while thought of like really loving life and valuing myself, and started making it something that was a part of my routine, as we discussed, because I love routine.
So like that was actually going to be like part of similarly part of the next question, but like what is, because this is just like I'm kind of diving off course just slightly. What is like an ideal routine for you?
Ooh, I like it. I like it. This is good because I talked to a lot of people about this. I read this book, Miracle Morning, and it's by Hal Elrod. And I read that at the very beginning of last year. So, like, made the conscious choice, I'm going to start feeling better. I'm tired of this.
Right.
And that was one of the first books that I read. And it was so, like, no nonsense. Here's some facts. Here's some things that help you, and this is how it helps. Here are the things I recommend that you do during your day as a part of your daily routine. So I started doing this routine. And then after seeing the benefits of it, I kind of put my own little spin on it and started doing, you know, a few extra things here and there, maybe changing the time on things, whatever. But I think for me, I'm operating at my best when I have taken the time to do my meditation, my visualization. I do some reading, some writing, like in terms of journaling. I read some kind of book that can help me grow in my mind or my business or something. You know, not Harry Potter as much as, you know, that's always a good time, but something that can help me grow. I make sure that I exercise, do some kind of stretching, and what else am I missing? That's the main stuff, I believe.
Okay.
On top of that, I like to make sure that I'm doing any kind of creative hobby at least several times a week, because I know what that does for your brain, and I know that I enjoy it. You know, it's silly fun for me.
Sweet. That is like an awesome routine. that is a nice routine.
And it feels great, man. And you throw a little bit of cleaning in the beginning and the end of your day when you don't really want to have to like think hard about it. Like you do a little tidying up in the morning as you're kind of making coffee and putzing around, and then in the evening when you start winding down, you get some dishes out of the way and let your brain wander a little bit. I like to set aside time to do some thinking, which Tom Bilyeu describes as thinkitating, and I really like, because it's not just like completely letting your mind wander away with you. It's more like letting it wander, but paying attention to where it wanders. So if it starts going someplace that's not helpful, I refocus it quickly, and I ask my brain a question. Like today, I did a little bit of thinking or thinkitating, and I was kind of I decided to just be quiet and let my brain do what it did. And it started going in some positive directions. And then all of a sudden, I'm lost in this, like, and everything is messy, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And I was like, wait, no, that's not what this time is for. So then I just asked myself, what could I do for my next YouTube video for these few things I'm trying to represent or explain? And then I just let my brain wander off with that. And if it started going somewhere negative or unhelpful, I would remind it, no, I told you we are thinking about the YouTube video right now.
Right.
Get your shit together, brain. Pay attention. But it helps a lot.
And following that mindset or that idea, I see the similar concept in sports psychology, and even to bring it back to gaming, competitive gaming. So one thing that a lot of professional competitive gamers do is they replay footage, and they'll do it even as a team to get an idea of, okay, so I made this mistake here. How can I plan for this type of scenario again in the future, learn to adapt and evolve and get around this roadblock so I don't trip up on it so much. And finding those skills, like I've even applied that personally, like in terms of Destiny PvP. I'm not an amazing player by any means, but I've definitely gone from going negative to averaging like 1.5, 2.0, like 10.0 some matches, but that's just luck.
Skill,
Yeah.
skill. Luck is the residue of design.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of focus.
Yeah, and that's why I said it. It definitely applies in sports psychology and like mental combat, I guess you could say, where you're as you are playing, you are analyzing your moves. Every time you die, you think about why did I die? Was it because I was pushing too hard too fast? Was it because like I went around the corner and someone just sniped me because I wasn't looking and I wasn't prepared for it? And you're gonna think, well, I can roll, like dive and
Right.
slide into that corner next time. If I know that someone is trying to use a head glitch, you know you can avoid that spot completely.
Mm-hmm.
Or you die like me because you were thinking about cheeseburgers instead of, just like
Ooh.
it's like you gotta think a tape back to the game.
Or about the cheeseburgers.
Or about the cheeseburger,
yeah. The one that's important at that time.
Right? The brain will go where it wants.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to kind of like, okay, brain, we gotta get back to this.
Yeah, I like the hand gesture you did. Like, okay, come on back now. We're
Like,
bringing you back.
I'm learning to talk with my hands more. It's like
Mhm.
a thing I didn't used to do, and then especially like with my martial arts, where like a lot of the time our instructor will have us, okay, it's like, look, we just finished doing traditional stuff. Now you have to do stuff like if you're out in the street, it's best to talk and keep your hands in front of you at all times. Don't keep them clenched in a fist, and like just keep your hands up because at the end of the day, at least you can cover your face.
I was
Like-
just gonna say, if I tried to touch you right now, you'd probably be able to block it a little better with the way you got your.
Oh yeah, way better than like my hands like all down here. So
Mhm.
it's like hand gestures help you talk, and from what I've heard, like just means like you're kind of paying attention to what you're doing, and you're really just trying to get your point across. But
Yeah,
I'm not.
it does
I'm
help
trying.
people
I'm
learn.
totally not threatened at all. Just don't mind me.
My mind was definitely wandering to Will Ferrell and how he was doing his hand gestures and like
Yep.
he didn't know what to do.
What do I do with my hand?
Oh man.
I was also thinking that,
Yeah.
but I was also thinking about punching Dorseus. So I went all over the place with it.
Wow, that's fine.
Not that I actually wanted to punch you, but just the fact that you would be able to block it because of your
Okay,
hands.
okay, that is fair.
Like I imagined
is
it being
fair.
a very quick ninja-like reflex.
It's like we'll see. I still have to rein in the idea that I flail every now. It just like
That's okay.
it's a work in progress. Work in progress.
Sometimes I move my arms without meaning just because I have energy and I can't sit still. Or acting like I'm dancing to some ridiculous song that's not even playing.
Yo, that's okay. That's energy to use. It's good energy to have.
That's
At least-
true.
So I used to chair dance all the time, and I don't know what I think it may have just this guy I was listening to. I think it was because I stopped listening to funk music all the time. I used to do that, like, and be like, everybody's like, "You're really digging the song, aren't you?" I'm like, "How could you tell?" It's like, "Well, you like basically danced across the whole room in your chair." It's like, "Oh,
Time to play
okay.
more funk, man.
Yeah, kind of to get back to funk. Let me see here. Did we want to pull one more from chat really quick before we jump into the next one? Because
Yeah.
I feel like they had a few more.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let's see here. This is another good one from the person we are now allowed to call Alpha. Snaps, how do you focus on more than one project without letting one take away from the other? And when do you think it's okay to start something new? And I feel like you kind of touched on this briefly, but I'd like to see what your answer is.
Man, I am so excited you asked me that. Sorry, I don't know why I wanted to react with so much energy on that one.
Energy!
Honestly, like, part of the reason I'm always working on so many projects at once is because I know that variety is the spice of life. Like, I love having a good routine. I love having set times and set days for things, but I like having that set up again in kind of like a general sense. Like, I'm going to exercise around this time every day. That type of exercise can vary day by day, so I don't get bored of doing the same thing every day. Because that's how our brains work, right? They want us to get frustrated with anything that we do too much, and we learn a lot as we branch out and do new things. So I try to set aside time to work on certain projects at certain times, But because I have my schedule so kind of locked down, if I decide last minute, like, I really don't feel like working on that, I look for something else that's in the same category and I just fill the
Gotcha.
space with that instead.
Okay.
So working on any kind of work in the mornings and then in the last like 3 hours before bedtime usually, because it's before I want to watch my last show of the night, before I get into like full wind down time and then like turn everything off. I'll let myself work on something productive, whether it's something around the house or something for work. But it's, I think having the time set aside for it and like having that as a strict regimented time can really help you, because then you can bounce from thing to thing without getting as stressed. You know, if you have deadlines, obviously things change a little bit, but
Right.
just for doing as many things as you feel like doing, just look at your schedule and figure out how to squeeze it in.
Right. Like, and see that like kind of tied in back, like we got talking about moving hands, and then I went into martial arts brain again. I wasn't thinkitating, but it's like something my instructor would always say, and probably will say about why I wasn't there last week. But if you really want it, squeeze in the time.
Yep.
You'll make the time to make it happen.
Yep.
Like there's usually no reason why you can't fit it in, especially if it's going to be for you. Like if it's going to be something, that creative thing, it's going to be that outlet. If that's going to be part of even building part of your routine that you need to be happy, carve out that time. like do it. Nothing bad's going to come from that.
Yeah. I think that oftentimes the people who tell me they don't have time for things, if you were to ask them how much time they actually have, they would have no idea. Like, okay, so what time do you go to bed? What time do you wake up in the morning? Awesome. Okay, what time are you at work? And what time do you get home? Awesome. Okay, now in all of those hours, when you're not at work, when you're driving in your car, when you're commuting, and when you're at home, while you're cooking, after you're done eating, what about those hours? There are more of them in the day than people give themselves credit for. They're like, I'm just too busy. I'm just too busy. But then they watch 3-4 hours of TV every night.
Yep.
And they're like, I need my wind down time. Like, yes, absolutely, you need your wind down time. But do you need 3 to 4 hours of it? And in front of the TV, are you even really winding down, or are you smothering? Like, are you just, instead of processing the shit that happened during your day, are you just cramming other stuff on top of it so you don't have to deal with it?
Right.
We have a lot more time than we give ourselves credit for. And every person who has a social media account, who watches TV, who even listens to music, like, I'm telling you, you got time to do more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like you just made me think about how I probably should have been listening to more podcasts and books on my drive to and from work. Like,
but again, like if you are squeezing in that learning somewhere else in your day, then that time to and from work, maybe that's your wind down time where you should be listening to chill stuff and, you know, letting go of the stuff that happened through your day. It's just a matter of consciously recognizing the time that you have and then deciding actively what to fill it with.
Yeah, and not only that, but even at your job, you can, depending on your position, like you can listen to podcasts, or like what I often did was listen to NPR at work. And they have a lot of, like PRI, PRX, they have a lot of wonderful shows, like including TED Radio Hour.
Oh, I love TED Radio Hour.
Yes.
Do you like Radio Lab? Because whenever people tell me they like TED Radio Hour or anything from like NPR, I recommend Radio Lab and Hidden Brain.
And Snap Judgment is awesome. Storytelling with a beat.
And it has my name.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I gotta have to check that one out.
Yeah, definitely. And even stuff that I didn't find on NPR, like Ariana Huffington has a Thrive Global, which like she has a sleep disorder, and like Thrive Global was in essence a program that she made after she gave up the Huffington Post, to how do you thrive past your own issues and adversities, and kind of speaking this on a global level. So she brings on persons of interest sometimes um, from any community. Like I think one episode she had Katy Perry on there, and
Hmm.
just discussing what they do in their lives to thrive. I guess
Yeah.
the best way of putting it.
It's like, yo, I
Well, I
like the
think if
sound of that.
anyone is looking at their life and they wanna describe it with like one word to say that you're thriving, like that's a pretty dope way to be able to
Oh yeah,
explain your existence,
Hmm.
right?
yeah,
You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're
right,
doing things, you're growing. You are
yeah,
blossoming.
yeah. It's like a very powerful and fantastic way to describe how you're doing. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and even I think even that like words matter to me because I majored in English once upon a time and then didn't use it. I it's like how you describe yourself totally matters too. Like, are you just surviving? Like, why?
Mhm.
Why are you just surviving? Are you growing? Like, are you thriving? Are you blossoming? As Snap said, it's uh, all those little things. Like, and also try to treat yourself kindly, like, because we are very good at being our own worst enemy. I definitely fall into the camp that's like, how do you joke? Well, I should probably ease off the self-deprecation.
Mhm.
Because that doesn't really help you. Like, treat yourself kindly, treat yourself as the people around you treat you, assuming that they're treating you well. Like, why wouldn't you describe yourself in the same positive fashion?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
words matter. We tend to use a lot of disempowering language when we use some that helps build us up, and you know, I think a lot of people get mixed up when it comes to like affirmations or using positive self-talk, that you're going to
Mhm.
be like inflating your self-worth, but I mean, that's all in the balance, right? And how
Right.
you look at and perceive your surroundings and your experiences and the people around you. Just the act of saying I'm awesome, I'm amazing, I'm a good person, I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm powerful, like
Hmm.
it doesn't impact those around you. Like it's not going to make you think you are more powerful than someone else or the smartest person. It's just recognizing what you are, and what you
Right.
are is pretty incredible and powerful and smart.
Right.
So I think it's silly when people kind of use that to talk down on that. Like, well, you don't want to build yourself up too much. You don't want to lie to yourself. Like, no, you're not trying to say you're the best in the world at everything and you know everything. You're just acknowledging what you were born with, even like some intellect, some ability to persevere, and your own interesting perspective, but not only that, the ability to deliberately see things from other people's perspectives.
Okay. And another thing that I think helps, that adding on to that, is like even taking the time to write it down. Like
Mhm.
just as in say like almost as a positive affirmation of oneself,
Yeah.
and just taking the
Yep.
time to just sit there and write, I guess, yourself a love letter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, it's like, I don't know. Did you guys ever do it in school where you wrote a letter to your future self?
I would have been very sarcastic if I did. The experiment would have been completely lost on me as a teenager.
I this is my new mission now, was to do this within like the next like couple weeks. I did that, and I think it was from either when I was either leaving elementary school or in middle school, writing to my future self.
I love that. What did you write? Was it
And
amazing?
I was way more kind to myself as a little kid than I am now. That's
Oh.
for sure. I was like, man, I could probably take some lessons from my old self and just be a kinder person to myself. Because it's like be that person. Like be like Adema said, go write a love letter to yourself. What would that look
Yeah.
like? Like
Yeah.
Like that could be awesome. And when I find it, I'll share it for you guys. Like when I find it, I just need to go look for it.
Do it and do it.
Yeah, and so playing off of that, how do you find yourself getting through those days that you find yourself just kind of beating up on yourself on a perpetual basis? Like, how do you get out of these ruts?
Well, since I got out of the first one, I refuse to let myself go back into another one, at least not a deep one. Like I might get into some bad eating habits for a little while, some bad sleeping habits for a little while, but I look at things so often, and it's such a part of my routine to examine how I'm living and how I'm thinking and acting, that I catch myself, much like when your thoughts wander while thinkitating, you catch yourself and bring it back. I catch myself when I'm going off track quickly, so I don't get into super deep ruts anymore. But when I start to notice these negative patterns happening, it's just kind of the same as during that thinkitating. It's kind correction. Like, oh, busted. All right, let's switch it up. Come on.
Right.
I see you snacking on that thing you didn't need. I see you. All right, how are we going to change this? How do we outsmart you so the next time you try to do this dumb thing again, you don't do it?
Right.
But I don't beat myself up over it, and I think that was the part that was the hardest to get through.
Okay.
Is when I would struggle or have these hard days, I would look at it and say like, great, this is just a sign that everything's going to hell. Like I just can't do it. That's what it is. I'm just incapable of sticking to things. I'm terrible at this. Instead of being like, all right, I know what I'm up against. I know that I'm trying to erase 30 years of bad behaviors, and it's going to take time. I just have to give myself a break, and when I notice myself going off my path or off my track, just kindly bring myself back. Refocus. You catch a dog chewing on the table and you tell him no. You don't, beat him over it. You just say no, Enzo, go back to your bed, and you give him a toy that he's allowed to chew on.
I like it. Can I have my own Enzo to do that? Like, is that like, do we have like clones
sure,
of Enzo?
Bro. Take mine for a while.
Sweet. I will fly out. We will make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of tied to that, and I do love that, again, be kind to yourselves. I'm pointing right at you, chat, and whoever's watching. Be kind to yourselves. That's like part of this. Like, it's okay if things deviate, but just don't beat yourself up over it too bad, What if you were to write like a checklist, Snaps, for somebody that's like maybe having that self-doubt or pity or like a vice or addiction, what would your kind of checklist be like for them treating themselves better?
It would start with creating their own checklist. Honestly, I love getting organized. Like that's a great thing to do. Start writing some things down. Here are some of the things I need to start being kinder to myself and start taking better care of myself, and then figure out how to squeeze those into their lives and start checking them off the list, if it's a daily thing they do, a weekly thing they do, whatever. And when it comes to any one of these things, there is a good chunk of it, if we're talking about depression or addiction or anxiety or stress, there's a good part of it that requires you to look at it and work on your own mindset toward it. But
Right.
there is also a part that requires a little bit of outside intervention. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to share what you're going through with everyone, but it does mean you need to talk to people. Like being social, even if you don't feel the need to talk about your problems, which is totally fine. Not everyone is an open book. It's being around people is powerful, and it's important, and being able to be comfortable enough to really be there with those people is especially important. I just saw something the other day that was talking about how one of the most effective ways to help treat addiction is to get people around other people. Like it's the isolation, it's the withdrawing, that makes it easier for your mind to keep feeding itself these really unpleasant thoughts and ideas that just fester and turn into worse things.
Right.
But when you can be around other people, choosing those people carefully, you can start to see that that stuff isn't the truth, that it's not real life, that there are people out there who do know what you're going through. There are people out there who do care, that this is something, whatever it might be, depression, addiction, whatever, it's something that can be worked on and worked through.
Sweet. Like, that's, I don't know. That sounds like a good idea to me. Like, this is pro checklist, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you can find community anywhere. So it's
Amen.
it's not just a matter of going to, like, in the aspect of addiction, it's not just about going to support groups and going to AA or whatever it may be. It could be finding a meetup and going for walks with friends, or playing D&D with perfect strangers, or talking to your online friends in their online communities. I think, and there's also other avenues of, like, there's help boards and things like that on the internet, and 1-800 numbers and so forth and so forth. There's always avenues. It's just a matter of taking the time to looking to find what may be the right fit for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's see here. I was I wandered again. I have to start counting my blue stuff again. Like, it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, got it. Got it. Stuck with
Did
blue.
it work that time?
Yeah, it worked that time, and I remembered the connection that I saw from what Adim was saying to what you were saying.
Nice.
About just go out there and find those folks, and sometimes having that external presence is totally what you need. A lot of my community, and Zoe, my fiance, knows, like months ago, I was in probably the deepest rut I've been in a long time, and like it took me like going back to my karate classes and hanging out with my instructor after class and just being around people, and he totally said what you said, Snaps. It's like, being around people and community helps. I was just like, it's like had like a almost like one of those Snapple moments. You just like kind of hit yourself, or V8 moments, hit yourself in the forehead. You're just like, yeah, of course. It's like being around people, like it helps a lot. Helps a lot.
Yeah, our bodies and our minds, every bit of us, we are connected to each other, and that connection is even more evident when you see how quickly you can feel relieved just from having a close friend sit next to you on a couch when you're having a hard day. They don't even have had to have said anything to you at that point, but just sitting with someone you care about, you immediately feel a little bit of weight coming off of you, like, oh, I'm not by myself right now. I'm not alone. Doing the same thing out in the world, same thing. If you can let some things off your chest, even better. One thing I will say, as we are moving into this space now where mental health and where talking about things is encouraged, be mindful that other people may be going through some things too. So before you spam someone with the messages, or before you call them and without, hearing anything from them, start just launching into all the things that went wrong with your day, I think it's a good practice to start asking people if they're in the right headspace to let you vent for a minute. I think the majority of time, your friends are going to answer like, yeah, go ahead. But you might catch them on one day where they are just having a tough time keeping their own head above water. And they don't have the ability to help. They need their time to themselves. And, we have to be mindful and respectful of that. I think a lot of times, even just asking that, like if I were in a bad headspace and someone were to say, are you in a good headspace to deal with something? Even if I wasn't, I'd just having that little heads up. I'm like, okay, I'm not right now, but give me a sec. I can get myself there. Like, let me just I'm going to go clean something real quick, and then I'll come back and we can talk about whatever it is.
Right. And that's totally helpful, and I think it's also just, it's like almost, I think, a small habit to develop, but it's like, I care that you're okay enough to talk to me. Like, like I want to make sure you're okay before I tell you maybe I am not.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of respect in that. Just like, yeah, like I care about you enough. Like I respect your mental and emotional health too. Like, and all you had to do was say, hey, are you okay to talk about things?
Yeah.
Like, didn't take any energy at all. I didn't even burn a calorie saying that. Like, took nothing.
Didn't even burn a calorie.
Yep. Not
like
it.
But you weren't
sadly
trying hard enough.
Yeah, right. I got to get some reps in. Like, yeah. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? It's gonna take a while to burn off that can of Coke, man. Like...
So I guess following on what we discussed a little bit earlier, like, how would you talk about maybe even dealing with forms of addiction that aren't as easily measurable, like, say, gaming addiction? Where,
I feel called out, Edema.
Where, like, people, it almost consumes their life over their own family and things like that, where they seem so focused on this one thing. I imagine the properties are the same. It's just, it's harder to measure on a chemical level like it is with alcohol or drugs.
So I don't think it's actually that much harder to measure on a chemical. Talking about similar parts of your brain being activated, similar chemicals that are being triggered or released. So what is happening when you're addicted to anything is similar. Some just may come with some much stronger physical things, like, if we're talking about heroin versus being addicted to social media, both can be very damaging and toxic to you over time. One, when you put it down, you feel mentally unwell because you want to look at your phone really bad, and the other, you might be suffering some serious physical withdrawals that can really put you out of whack. But the thing I want to encourage people always when it comes to anything that they do is to be able to look at it and ask themselves why they're doing it. Like, we talk about drinking and we talk about smoking weed. If you can easily answer why you're doing it, and the answer isn't to get away, to not feel something, or to feel better, then it's probably not a healthy behavior. If you're doing the same thing for your video games or even for going to the gym, if it's just, this is the only way that I know to not have to deal with these feelings, this is the only way I know to not feel these things, while I do this, I don't have to think about it, Look at the reasons why you're doing things. And then when it comes to anything that becomes an addiction or a disorder of any kind, it's not just the actual activity, but it's the impact on your life that's being measured. Do you have strong relationships? Do you show up to work on time and do what you have to do? Do you take care of yourself in the ways that you need to be taking care of yourself? If any of those things are suffering, your relationships, your mental health, your physical health, your job, if those are suffering because of this thing that you're doing, then it needs to be evaluated fully. It really needs to be looked at. It doesn't necessarily mean it's some lifelong addiction you're stuck with and you have to, quit cold turkey. Like, I've been addicted to video games for a few years, so I'm done now. I'm never going to pick up another video game again. Don't even show me your Switch. I'll get upset. Like, you can look at these things and see that they're detrimental, and also see that you can get away from them and you can put new behaviors in place of those. If we're talking about drugs and alcohol and substance abuse or any of these other things, you may need some help. You may need someone who can help you to counteract those urges and those thought patterns and those behaviors. But the point is it can be done, and a big part of not allowing it to get that far is, again, to be looking at yourself, looking at your life, looking at the time that you're spending on certain things. Is this a healthy amount of time? Am I doing any other things for myself? Where will doing this exact same behavior for the same amount of time, if I stretch this out over a year, where will this get me a year from now? If this is the routine that I stick with, where will I be?
Right. And I don't know if it's just because I've started to tune to that more, and I do want to thank you for being a huge advocate for looking at the mental health and emotional health this way, because I think I've keyed into it a lot more than I ever would have on my own. But the idea of looking at like what you do kind of probably has a reason. Like, why do you do this? I used to only play video games all the time because, well, I didn't have a lot of friends. So, hey, I find friends who video games. So what do? I play video games, but it's just like, once upon a time, you're just like, I had a really hard day. Did I really just drink a beer because I had a hard day? Like, yeah, like if you can identify the reason why you're doing things, and yeah, like, is it adding up to you stifling or smothering those feelings, or are you are you in a good space because of it? Is it, like you said, is it taking away from you being able to take care of yourself?
That was, it got real deep there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, I broke it up by bringing the Switch out. Sorry if that made anybody upset.
It made me upset. How dare you make light of a serious thing? This is what's fun about this, though. Like, if we talked about mental health more often, it would be just the same as us talking about, like, well, don't be surprised that you're shitting your brains out. You just ate $50 worth of Taco Bell. We can have these conversations and have it just be a normal thing. Have it be kind of fun and silly. Like, oh, you're in a rough headspace. Well, let's think about your actions the past 24 hours, bud. Like, what have you done to add to that? Did you do the equivalent of eating $50 worth of Taco Bell to kind of set your brain up to have a shitty night? Like,
did you get a face tattoo and kidnap a tiger?
Yeah, yes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If you do them in the opposite order, it's a good night. If you do them in that order, something's wrong.
Remember that order.
You want the tiger with you when you're getting the tattoo so they don't try to charge you too much. Idiots.
Oh, before we move on to this next question, I see another one in chat that I think Snaps, I feel like I've seen you speak to this one, but this is a good one, I think, for everybody that's listening and watching that maybe hasn't heard this question and the answer that comes with it. This one's from Starcross Serenity. What do you find to be the best way to walk away from a situation that you know is bad for you, but you feel guilty for walking away?
Set things on fire. Don't know my identity.
You didn't hear it from us.
No, honestly, like this, it requires, I think, a little more context for me to be able to speak on it in a better way. But I would encourage you to look at the reasons why you feel guilty. Do you feel guilty because of someone else's thought process or because of your own? And if you feel guilty because of your own thought process and not because someone else has made you feel like you owe them your time, your energy, your attention, your love, whatever, then you can let go of that, I think, easier when you see that it's not even coming from you. And if it's something that you are feeling guilty of because of yourself, then give yourself a break and take a second and say, okay, is this something I can learn from where I can act differently in the future? Or is this something that maybe I don't really deserve to feel guilty over because I actually tried my best? Like, the best is all that I can offer. So finding out where the guilt is coming from and then evaluating that exact feeling a little bit more, I think, is a good place to start. But if you're at the point where you're saying, like, I know I need to walk away from something, walk away. Do whatever it takes to protect and preserve your energy, because you only have so much of it. And that energy should be and could be dedicated to moving yourself forward in your life, achieving your hopes and dreams, being more present in your relationships with your loved ones and your family members and your friends. that energy could be used for any number of good things, and you are losing that energy. I don't want to say it's being wasted because I don't know where it's coming from yet, but that energy is being put towards something that may not serve you.
Right.
Yeah, and everything Snaps just said can definitively apply to abusive relationships.
Yes.
Yes, definitively. It is like 100%. Like
you don't owe anybody your time. You don't owe anybody your attention. You don't owe anybody, even your family, your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Nobody deserves the right to have you feeling like crap. Nobody has earned that. Not the people that brought you into this world, not the people that pay for your shit. If someone pays for your shit, you may have to work some things out. You may have to really think your way out of it and into a better situation. It might take a little bit of extra work, maybe some help from some friends, but you are absolutely entitled to live a life that you design yourself.
I will never say that better, so I won't.
Yeah.
That was spot on. That's like, and that's sometimes I don't want to say a hard lesson to teach people, but sometimes it's like a hard thing to communicate to people.
Yeah.
You know, just like you deserve 100% of your energy.
Yep.
Like
all of it. You decide how you want to dole
yours.
it out.
Yeah. It's like, and I love those times where you did talk about that, and I had never thought about it that way. It's just like, how are you dividing your energy? It's like, oh my god. Mm-hmm. Like it is mind blowing when you think about that. It's
yeah, when you start thinking about it, like the quote that I really liked was budget out your energy like you budget out your paycheck. We look at the money that we have in our life, and that's what we gauge everything by. Do I have enough money to take the time to do these things? Do I have enough money to buy the things that I want? But what gets you that money? Your energy, your blood, sweat, and tears. Maybe not all of those things, but some of them.
Yep.
Your focus. And you've got to remember that that's all you got is your energy, the stuff that fuels your mind and your body, that keeps your mind functioning, that keeps your body moving forward. If you lose any little bit of that to something that wasn't for you or someone you love, wasn't something that you deliberately put there, you're missing out on potential opportunities to refocus that energy. And your mental energy and your physical energy are drawn from the same place. So if you are constantly stressed and anxious and frustrated because of relationships in your life, your physical energy is going to decline as well. You're going to have a harder time eating healthier. You're going to have a harder time getting to the gym. You're going to have a harder time focusing on the things that you need to do, the things that you want to do, the things that bring you joy, because you are going to be exhausted and drained from someone else's bullshit.
Right. And that's not the spot you want to be in constantly. Like,
no.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
And that applies to, like, if you have a job that you just flat out loathe,
Amen.
The best time to look for a new job is when you have that job, because then you're getting paid to look for something that you're passionate about.
Yep. Like,
just be thankful you have a job in the first place. Build your knowledge, build your skills. You can learn practically anything on YouTube nowadays.
Yep.
Learn some stuff, make yourself more economically valuable, because you yourself are valuable and you should value yourself. So if you want society to value enough to pay for your time and your energy, then you got to add a little bit something to it. You got to make yourself more economically valuable. So put that work in and find yourself a better job. Find yourself a different job. Create yourself a new job. But geez, don't spend day in, day out miserable and then just pooping all over the positive energy of those around you because you hate your job. Start working on changing it.
Yep. Like that's entirely it right there. I actually see somebody like that I work with does that. Like we work the help desk together. Does that stop him from learning networking and how to work servers? No. like he teaches himself this stuff. It's like the you can do this. You can do any of it. Or you can maybe find that slice of time for yourself to do that.
Yeah, and it's not. And if even YouTube isn't structured enough for you, I mean, even a little thing like Udemy. I don't want to plug them specifically, but there's online like classes you can take that are
Yep.
like reasonable prices.
Lynda.com, Skillshare,
Yeah.
all these things. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you have time to complain about your job and if you have time to wishing that you had something better, you also have time to start working toward it, start planning it out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I want to say, like, that's kind of like the soul of the matter. And Adima, I want to thank you for kind of like naming like kind of the things we were going through. I don't know if you see it too, Snaps, but like we've gone through like the heart, mind, and soul kind of questions. I was like, oh, he did the thing. This is cool. Like, this is awesome. Like, and we're covering all these things, guys. Like, we're covering things for your heart, mind, and soul. This is fantastic.
I like it. Mind, body, spirit, man. You got to take care of all of it.
Yep.
Even if you don't fully believe you have a spirit, it's like your mindset, if you want to take it that route. Like, there is something that isn't just your intelligence. There is your mindset, your perspective, whatever you want to consider it. So mind, body, spirit, get it all.
Right. Yep. Something's controlling the machine, you know? It's like something's in there.
Yeah, and whether you think it's derived from, say, a spiritual higher power or just yourself, like something within yourself, something fueling you, I think it's still applicable. Right.
If you want to get all philosophize-y, we can just look at the idea of what a god or goddess is, and it's a creator, right? And we are all creators.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But legit, like, we are all creators. We get to create our reality every day. And if you don't believe that because it sounds silly and spiritual or abstract, like, go do some research in how your brain works, how your cognition works. Because you, based on what you choose to look at, you can create certain outcomes for yourself. Based on what you choose to work on, you can create certain outcomes. If you decide you want to, make special time with somebody, you can also create a human. Like, you really are a creator. You're not just some insignificant thing. You are everything.
That was like, you just answered a question I was gonna ask, and I don't need no. That's awesome. That was cool. That was amazing. She used the mind words. Yeah, she used the mind words.
So I guess kind of playing on that, how do you go about respecting other people's spiritual beliefs in the pursuit of your own self-fulfillment, I guess? And kind of have a joie de vivre, I guess, nonchalant, I don't care attitude to I'm working on bettering myself. It doesn't matter what you think, I guess, kind of concept.
I mean, it helps to really not care. It does. It's a good feeling now to just really not care. Like, I evaluate so many of the things in my life so frequently that I've realized how many of them I could live without, including people's thoughts on me. Like, I really don't care. To an extent, of course, I consider it. Like, if someone told me I was making them feel bad, I would be like, okay, I've got something to work on here, because that's absolutely not my intent. But if it's other people trying to change my views or my perception on myself or my world, and they're being dicks about it, I don't care. And when it comes to me expressing my own beliefs without trampling on other people's, I think it helps that not only do I not care, but I don't know. Like, I'm fully okay with the idea that any of my beliefs, any of the things that I currently believe are fact, could be wrong. I just encourage people to share that with me in a kind and considerate manner. If you have a differing religious belief, that's cool. I could be wrong, man. I have no idea. Maybe the fucking Scientologists got it right and Xenu is Overlord or whatever that thing's name is. Like, I really don't know. So I'm
be a
not going to get
giant
upset
spaghetti
if
monster
someone
in the sky.
has. Exactly.
Right? Could be.
Yeah.
Like we have no idea. So I can have my beliefs, you can have yours, and we can both say like, who really knows? But it's when
Right.
people start getting condescending and being all passive aggressive over it and acting like you're a fool for believing any of the things you believe in. That's when it stops being fun, man. Like
Right.
I don't want to be that person to anybody else where I've gained some knowledge, so suddenly I think I know everything. I don't know anything. I don't know shit about shit. Everyone knows that. I say it as often as I possibly can so that people know, like, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I really don't know. I only know what I've learned up until this point. I only know my perspective and my experience. Everything else has to come from additional research and you guys. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Just give me some facts or give me your perspective and we can go from there.
Right. Holy cow! I feel like you like echo everything I've learned on my martial arts. Are you like secretly been teaching me martial arts and then these nuggets of wisdom that you've been dropping all day?
She's actually
everyone
your
and everything.
sensei.
I just didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Just didn't
tapped
know.
into the universal consciousness and intelligence.
The zeitgeist.
So I
Nice.
know everything and nothing but everything.
Cool. Well, the reason that the reason I tie that in echoes my martial arts is my instructor has been training his entire life, and literally the thing he always tells us is like, I just do it this way because it makes sense. I'm not saying it's better than anybody else's. I just know this. Like if somebody shows me and it works a different way, cool. I just learned something. Like it works. Like it's not that any other style, or if you want to break out of like away from martial arts, it's not that anything else is necessarily better. If you just don't know, you don't know. So share it and learn some stuff. And if it worked for you, great.
Yeah.
Like,
and drop the freaking ego when somebody tells you the truth about something. Like, it doesn't matter that you're wrong. It matters that now you know the truth, or you're closer to it at least.
Right. Totally that. Like.
Yeah, and I guess kind of playing on what you were saying, how do you deal with those competitive, trolly kind of people? Where is it like immediate banhammer, or do you actually try to get their perspective and see where they are attempting to come from? They're just being a hostile, like a-hole about it.
I love getting their perspective because even when it's rude, it's still eye-opening and enlightening. Because I really, like I said, I really don't care what anyone is going to say about me, and especially not some stranger who just comes in and starts talking smack. Like that is not going to be the thing that keeps me up at night. Like, believe me, I will focus on any number of problems or issues in the world before I let some stranger calling me names or telling me I'm ugly or whatever, like, impact my mental state, you know? So I generally apologize to them for whatever it is that they're going through, because I've been in pretty rough states of mind and I haven't behaved in that manner, so I don't know what kind of life you have to live to do that, you know? Like I wouldn't say I've had a hard life necessarily, but I don't know that it's necessarily been easy either. And despite all of the things that I've encountered and all of the bad experiences I've had, that's just never been something that appealed to me, that popped out as like I should go and say some nasty things to a stranger, you know? So just because I don't understand it, it doesn't really mean I know why they're doing anything. So I like to find out. And if they don't answer, then, you know, I give them an opportunity to apologize and stick around, and if they can't do that, then we wish them well and we ban them. But we do like to give them the opportunity to see that they don't have to act that way. Like, I'm not upset, I'm not offended, no matter what it is that they said. So if they just want to stick around and get a different kind of attention, we can happily help them out with that. Like, guess what, dude, we could have a conversation. You know what that feels like? It's good. People pay attention to you. You say words to them, they say words back, then you say words back, and then they think for a minute, and then they say words back to you. It's a really
Right.
thrilling process. And if you didn't come in here acting like a dickhole, you could have been doing that. You still have time. Just say you're sorry like an adult. I am sorry for blank because blank, and you get to stay around.
Right. And if not, then we see message deleted.
Exactly. And then it's all over, and I move
Yep.
on to the next happy conversation I have about anything other than that.
Right. And I think that's like a great way to operate. And it's always funny because I feel like lately when I've talked with other creators and whatnot, I'm like, what's your version of dealing with trolls? Like, how do you process the random person, that comes in like that? And some like, oh, I'll joke around or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I've been there too. But like I totally just love that. Just give them that moment to maybe process and think about, like, because I don't think they're ever ready for that. They're like you're actually being serious and giving them like, hey, what's going on? Like, how are you? Like, are you all right? Like, that's like, I think one of the most disarming things like anybody can ever tell you. Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, I have to think about that.
You've been around long enough. You've probably actually seen it work a couple times too. Like, by and large, sure, we see maybe 90% of the people just lash out again. But again, like, it's not going to impact my day. I get to continue doing the same shit I was doing. Doesn't really matter. But it is more frequent than people would expect that people are like, all right, look, I'm sorry. I was in a really bad state. Like, I don't know. I was bored and it seemed like a good idea. I apologize. I won't do that again. Or in many cases, it's been like people dealing with severe crises, and they had no idea how to handle it. And somehow something about the way I looked in my thumbnail or something they read in my stream kind of upset them. And they decided that I was the source of all things wrong in this world. And they had to let me know. But when they take a minute and they think about it, it's like, all right, you're right. I'm sorry. It had nothing to do with you. I'm just upset, angry, lonely, sad.
Right. And see, that kind of like loops in what we talked about earlier. Like, there's a reason. Like, there's something behind it. There's a reason that led to all that. And certainly then, again, looping back into the conversation, this is going to like go by the time this is all done looping in.
I like it. I liked the hand gestures to show the link as well.
Yeah, they need to know. But it also loops in, like, as soon as you let that person, like, if they're willing to, they think about it, they come back into the community, then they're doing just that. They're presenting themselves in the community and possibly maybe taking a step they didn't know they needed to take.
Yeah. And it's a real version of them that we get. The ones that come in real rude, change up. Like, now that they've broken the ice by telling me to go choke and die on a bag of dicks, they don't quite feel as worried about saying, like, whatever it is that they're dealing with. Like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going through a lot. I was really angry. I lashed out. I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't seem as scary as telling someone that that's how they should meet their end.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and like, the internet can be obscenely toxic at times too. Like, you don't see people in the grocery store going around saying, "Hey, you should just do that. just go choke and die." And like, I don't know. Like, I guess the anonymity just kind of gives people this false guise that they can be just complete horrible, awful people sometimes. Like,
I think those are the people who they're like a couple steps away from the person who sighs obnoxiously heavily and mutters things under their breath to their significant other while they're behind you in line. Like, well, she doesn't need to be eating that, that kind of person. Like, that's the person that comes into your chat and says like unkind things. Like, in real life, they were probably lashing out in their own way. They were being rude or snippy, or they, put their gum under their desk knowing that someone else was going to put their knee in it later and didn't care. They are probably acting in a manner that we wouldn't be too fond of, but then you throw the ability to not have their faces seen, to not have their names known,
Right.
and then they're like, okay, this
Right.
is for that person who made me wait too long at the grocery store today because they
Yep.
just had to buy so many groceries. We get
Yep.
it. You like food, scumbag.
I only eat saltine crackers.
Exactly.
Are we really towards the end of this? I'm kind of sad. Oh my goodness,
Feel
we
your
are.
feelings, Dorseus.
Well, this happens like every time we do this, but even more so because we get to have this awesome conversation with you. But like I could like have these kind of conversations, I feel like forever, but I don't think it's physically possible to stay in a chair and have a podcast that never ends. So until that point,
Probably not.
you know, probably not the best idea. But I do want to say thank you for joining us for this awesome podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. But before we go, and for those of you who are out there watching, listening, if you don't already follow Snaps, Snaps, where's the best place to find you?
All right, here's what you do. You go in your room, you close the door, you turn off the lights, you light 4 candles and 20% of another candle. Then you lay down in your bed, get really comfortable, roll over the side and look underneath your bed. It's me. That's where I'm at. That's where you find me, dudes.
Noted.
Otherwise, like if you don't want to go through the ritual and find me under your bed, I guess you could just search Mind of Snaps. Because you'll find me on Twitter, on Instagram, that's my YouTube, and that is also my podcast. I don't know why I said it that way. Probably because I'm on a podcast and it felt right.
Podcast plugging another podcast. It's okay.
Plugs.
Yeah.
That's how you get a podcast pregnant, when one plugs another one. Oh, and then there's Twitch, twitch.tv/SheSnaps. That's me. I'm SheSnaps.
Boom. There you go.
All right. And if you would like to find Fort Tarsis Radio, we are on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, like you see here, and we are available at most places where you can find podcasts.
Yep. So if you prefer to listen and miss all the weird hand gestures I did today, we got a podcast for you.
They were fantastic.
Yeah. And then and you guys, thank you guys again so much, all of you who came out to watch and listen, post questions for us and for Snaps. I'm Dorseus, and I see you with your hand over there, Adema. You guys can find me smiling and joking around at my Mixer channel, mixer.com/Dorseus, and also on Twitter at Dorseus.
And
Dorseus.
I am Adema360. You can find
Yes.
Smile.
Dang it! It's like I was already like halfway there on the smile.
I know, but I still get to take credit for it. Sorry, Adema.
Right,
sorry. Everyone follow Adema.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and on the Mixer thingy.
On the Mixer thingy. Go follow him at Adema360. Go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it.
For science.
For science.
All right. Well, it was great having you.
Yeah. Thanks again, Snaps.
This was delightful. You guys are wonderful humans.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You are the best avocado general ever.
I really wish I could have avocado tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I keep reminding you that. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's rude. What a terrible person.
Sorry. Go have amazing fruits.
Yeah! You just reminded me that I have apples, so I'm excited. Yeah!
There you go.